So, year 7. You remember way back at the beginning of this topic when we learnt about order of operations? We're coming back to order of operations again today, but this time thrown in there is we're going to have to remember all of our rules for positive and negative integers. So just to remind you of order of operations, we fill in these dot points. Number 1, you always deal with brackets first. And remember, if there's 2 sets of brackets, you start with the inside first and work your way out. 2, do multiplication and division next, working from left to right. And 3, do addition and subtraction, working from left to right. Okay, so into the examples. Let's have a look at number 1. So we have brackets, so that's where we need to start. Starting with the brackets, we have a -2, and we want to take away one more. So that means we need to think of that number line, -2, going one more down, and we're going to end up at -3. Okay, that times 8, we leave it there. We're going to do that on the next line. So put another equal sign. Next, that minus sign belongs with that 3. This is actually a multiplication problem. We have a -3 multiplying with a positive 8. So remember, if we have one negative and one positive when we're multiplying, the answer will always be negative. And we go 3 times 8 gives us an answer of 24. Okay, we're going to practice some more of these because they can be a little bit confusing. Let's try question 2. Evaluate the following using order operation rules. So in this question, you will see that there is a bracket around that -5. It doesn't mean that you need to do that bracket first because the only thing in there is a -5. You can't really do anything with it. You will just see this in some of the questions because they want to group the negative sign with the 5 to help you with the division. So you've got a -10 dividing by a -5. Okay, they're just trying to group that minus with the 5 there. So don't worry about those brackets so much. So, because we can't do anything with those brackets, the next thing we want to move on to is the multiplication and division step. So the first multiplication and division we come across is here, the multiplication sign, and it involves the -6 and the 2. So when we multiply a -6 and a +2, negative and positive makes a negative, and 6 times 2 is 12. Okay, write the rest down. -10 divide by a -5. Okay, so then we still have more multiplication and divisions in there. So the next one we come across is this one. We have a -10 divided by the minus or -5. So the 12 that's out the front, the -12, it's going to stay there. When we divide, we need to look at the signs of the two numbers. We have a -10 and we have a -5. Two negatives when we divide are going to become a positive, so we need a plus sign. Whoops, plus sign, must have bumped something there. And we divide the numbers. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay, then the multiplication divisions are all done. So now addition and subtraction. We have a -12, so think of that number line. We're at the -12, and we want to come up because we're adding 2 onto that. So moving 2 up will land us at a -10. Okay, good. Let's go on to part B. Okay, this time the brackets, we can actually do some stuff with those brackets there. We have a -10 plus 5, so let's start there. We have the 5 sitting out the front. We have a divide sign. And now we want to work out the bracket. -10 plus 5. Think of your number line. I'm going to add a -10. I want to come up 5. And that will land me at a -5. You could put brackets around that -5 if you want to, but I'm happy for you to write it like that. Okay. Then I have, still in my problem over here, I have a plus 5. Okay, the brackets are done. Then we want to go to the multiplication and division. So we do have a division here. 5 divided by -5. So a positive and a negative means that my answer is going to be a negative. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And I still have the plus 5 here. So now on to the addition. I'm starting at -1. Jump up that number line 5 places. And we land at 4. Okay, last one. When you have a fraction like this in a question, it means the same as having, when you have two things on the top like this, it is the same as putting those two things in brackets. You really need to do those first. Okay, so always remember that. If there's two things added or subtracted on the top of a fraction like that or the bottom, treat them like they are brackets. Okay, so that needs to be done first. So I'm going to leave the -6. Then I have a minus sign before my fraction. So I'm going to do the 10 plus 2, that's 12 over 3. Now, in a fraction, that over, that line there, means divide, doesn't it? So that must be the next thing that we have to do. We have to do the divide next. So I have a -6, and I have a negative, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now I can do the subtraction, starting at -6 on the number line. I want to take off 4 more, so going down 4 more on the number line will give us the final answer of -10. Okay, so please set your questions out. I want to see the working just like I'm showing you here. It is the most reliable way of making sure that you get the right answer and are following the steps properly.